So good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, thank you for coming to the community meeting with such late notice. I really do appreciate this fantastic turnout. So we're not going to muck around here. We're going to get straight into it around about what we're expecting in the way of flooding with the Rochester community, some of the actions that will be in play. We'll also have a talk around about a little bit of the relief and recovery space, and we'll have a talk about the extra SES resources that are coming into town as well. So they should be in play this afternoon. So just quick introduction for myself. So my name's Brad Dalgleish. I'm the operations manager, looks after the Loddon area, which goes from Castlemaine all the way up to Echuca, across to Kyabram, and across to Wedderburn in the other area. I'd like to do the introduction. So Victoria Police.
Is Dale Sim, I'm usually the Rochester station commander here, and also the local LAC is David Bowler. He's here as well, just in the corner waving. Thanks.
Thank you. Camille?
Camille White. I'm the floodplain manager from the North Central Catchment Management Authority. Anyone else?
Thank you. I'll come to you last. Sorry. Local government. Just having a look. Sorry. Thanks, Shannon.
Hi everyone, Shannon Maynard. I'm Council's Municipal Recovery Manager and Director of Community Safety and Recovery here at Campaspe.
Thank you, and we'll introduce the local SES.
Some of you may know me, Judith Gledhill from Rochester SES.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, we'll get straight into it. So we'll just get Judith just to have a talk around about what those flood impacts are potentially going to be. So Judith, Camille. Sorry, we'll change that around. Thank you.
I'll talk about... So I've been having conversations with the Bureau this morning. They haven't actually given a formal prediction, but I'll give you some information. It's not great news, unfortunately. So we've had significant rainfall around the Bendigo region, and this has caused the Barnadown gauge to rise quite quickly. And what we're seeing is the Barnadown gauge is peaking at the moment around 6.8 metres. So this water's come from the water around Bendigo, Axe Creek, so your Strathfield, say, Longley, that area. That's where the bulk of the water's coming from. So what that means for Rochester is the peak in Rochester will be in the order of about 114.8 to about 115, and that's what we've recommended to SES and the community to plan for, is a level of 115 metres at the Rochester Township gauge. Judith's going to be able to talk better about what those impacts are, but just in short summary, it's definitely less than both January 2011 and October 2022, but there'll still be some significant flooding of the areas within the township. And I'll best hand over to Judith because she can explain that a bit better about the impacts.
You told us that last time.
Yeah, so in terms of... and this is... Okay, so in terms of levels, so what we're seeing, Epilock itself has spilled, but only a small amount at the moment. It'll go up a little bit more, but the main... Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I'll hand over to Judith. She can explain what the impacts are going to be.
Okay, so for those of you that were here in November 2010, we had a moderate flood then of 114.4. Okay, at that level, nobody got impacted. There was a few properties, but not dwellings. No one got impacted at that level, at 114.4. At the moment, we're talking at 114.8 to 115. And according to our data, there's approximately 60 houses at 115 that will be impacted, but in saying that, they are defendable with sandbags. It's not like what we had 15 months ago. Nothing at all like that. That was 115.7. We're only talking 115 maximum at this stage. And Camille has assured me that that's probably the upper level. So... Sorry, lost train of thought. At 115 even, we are currently door knocking those houses that we feel are going to be directly impacted. We are also very aware of people that are still living in their shed, and we are also door knocking the properties where water will go onto your property at 115. So your dwelling might be sitting at 115.4, got impacted in January, but not prior to that. But if your property's at 115 and you're living in your shed, you can expect a knock on the door just to inform you what is going on. Okay? We expect this to come through fairly quickly because it is localised flood, and so that's why Barnadown, etc., is rising quickly. So the expectation that it will come through fairly quickly. It'll rise and it'll fall relatively quickly. Okay? Sandbag point is currently being set up over at the Rec Reserve, over at the footy oval. We've got sand there, and we are currently getting sandbags delivered there over the next half hour, we hope. Sorry, what was that?
I said it always floods at the river, at the bridge. People can't get over there to get those sandbags. So are you organising sandbags for this side of the river?
So we don't expect the peak to come through or to the roads to be impacted until tomorrow.
I'll probably just explain. So the river, so the peaks at Barnadown at the moment, and the main sort of front, if you like, of the river. So Bon, because we obviously choppered to get here because we couldn't get here via the roads. The river is rising at Bon, so you'll see the river rise certainly this afternoon and start seeing impacts tonight, but the peak's not expected till tomorrow. So yeah, you obviously got to plan for something this afternoon tonight.
So considering that, with only 70-ish houses that need sandbagging, that should be easy to do this afternoon. Okay, so it's not everybody in town that's going to need sandbags. Okay? Yes, that's what we said last time. But we have, every flood is different, and even though I'm referring to November 2010, even if the level was the same, the flood would be slightly different. We have no way of knowing 100% what's going to happen. All we have to do is trust the information, and yes, BOM got it wrong last time. They have assured us that with the data that's been kept over the last 50 years, that a lower level flood is easier to predict than a higher level flood like it was last time. So we have to trust with that and use it as our guide, as we have nothing else. Down the back, I see someone's hand up.
Yeah, Jude, can you just run through the streets that you think are going to be impacted, please?
So I'll just repeat for the audio. So the question was, what streets do we think are impacted this time?
Unfortunately, I brought the wrong book because I brought it so I could tell everybody. So this book I've got is what gets impacted at 115.4, so that I could tell everybody the actual property, not their dwelling. But the streets are essentially either side of the river. So we've got Mackie Street, High Street, Victoria Street gets it down the bottom end here. I think the Fraser Street was on the list. There is one in Cohen Street, I think. Not sure about Doyle. Priory Street had some. Maybe. Definitely property in Pascoe, but I'm not 100% sure about dwelling. Okay? Flood Eye still works, so if you type in your address, it will tell you when it impacts your property and when it'll impact your dwelling. Okay, so for those that have got access to that, otherwise if you want to come and see me, I can look up your address and give you that data now.
A question from the feed was Spencer Street?
I can't tell you straight off, I'd have to look it up, sorry.
Jude, maybe if we're able to at some stage, either on the community page or the emergency, even just get a map outlined so we know who may need a bit of help, and it's something that's accessible for everyone to look at, if that's possible.
Yep, I've got a map back at the unit that I can easily just upload and get that shared around to show some of the data that we need. Any other questions?
What's the West Waranga Channel doing, please?
So with the
Around the West Waranga Channel?
Yes, please.
So with the channel, The levels we've been given is that once the river gets to 114.6, it does overflow into the channel system. At this stage, we are talking 114.8 to 115, so we are expecting it to impact the channel system, and GMW know all about that already.
Is GMW actually going to drop the level of that channel into Green Lake like they didn't last time?
I don't work for GMW and I cannot answer on their behalf. I'm sorry, I can't help you with anything to do with the channel system, sorry.
Judith, over here. Just to reassure some people, you did make mention before that you were door knocking anyone you knew in sheds in lower areas of their properties. How are you determining who's in sheds? Because there's a lot of people also who have shipping containers and have their possessions in sheds. They're not living in them.
Yep, that's actually I hadn't considered that part of it. What we're doing is we're going through our data, and any property that is impacted at 115, they are getting a door knock to check if they're okay, what they've got, where they're at. So any property that is impacted at 115 is getting a door knock. So hopefully the crews that we've got out door knocking will be able to pick up all those sort of people.
Just a quick question about town water. I'm Damien from Coliban Water. Over here. Yep. Where do you want me here? So town water, everything's fine with town water. As we did in previous floods. Bit louder. Everything's fine with town water, no problems whatsoever. As we've done with previous floods, and obviously after 2011 we built the flood wall around the water treatment plant, we've got to get a gate in that water treatment plant, and that's a precautionary measure. So you'll see some activity around the plant today where we'll be getting that gate in to ensure that the flood wall has its integrity to protect the water treatment plant. You may also see some people around town sandbagging our sewer pump stations, which you may often walk past but not know what they are. But you'll notice around town there'll be some electrical boards which are in green cabinets, and we'll be getting some sandbags around those, and that's just to ensure that we protect those assets and so that we don't have any disruption to water services.
What about all the drain systems?
So Campaspe Shire are in charge of the drainage system, so if they would like to comment.
Okay, so we've got crews out checking drains and clearing debris and ensuring that they're flowing as well as they can. Pending we don't get any further heavy rainfall, we should be okay. That's the best I can tell you at the moment. It's the best I've got.
Probably remember, just to be a bit respectful, that's all. We're here trying to help you with some information today.
Thanks, Kate. I believe there's a stop valve in the Campaspe. Is that closed so we can't get reflux back up?
Yes is the answer. Who's next? All right.
Just for the live stream.
This meeting could all be alleviated if the political arena come to the cause and had a buffer at Lake Epilock, which would allow for incoming inflows. All of this is aftermath. It's after the event. We need preventative measures prior to the flood. This is on the other end of the scale.
Yeah, on that point, there's some good work being done around that, but just on this point, this water is not coming from Lake Epilock. It's coming from the catchment downstream of Lake Epilock. So it's the water that's fallen... it's the water that's fallen around Bendigo, downstream of Lake Epilock. So this peak we're seeing isn't from Lake Epilock. Just wanted to reiterate that. We might see the water go up and peak tomorrow. It might drop a little bit and then go back up a little bit. That's the water coming from Epilock, but there's not a huge volume of water coming from Epilock. So we were fortunate there wasn't a big downfall in the upper catchment around Cottonwood End and the like. And it has been kept at 90%, by the way. Yep. It is spilling, yes, and it was kept at 90% before the flood. I'm not from Golden Murray Water, but just saying that.
Just got a quick question about those that are going to be okay those that are going to be okay this time, and we know people are still hurting from last time. How do we identify those that are in need, and where do they go and identify their needs, and how do us that can help? Who's organising the volunteers? If we want to help, where do we go, and how do you identify who needs what?
Hi, thanks for the question. So in terms of volunteerism, effectively right now we are in the response phase. So we will be looking at the SES to provide that notification to make sure that people are aware of what's coming. The council is ready to operate a relief centre should it be required, and it's sounding more and more like it will be at this stage. So the council will be ready to open that relief centre. It may be both a release and a resource centre as well. So we will stand that up. This building will be available as soon as this meeting's done. We will have staff here ready to go to try and support as much as we can. If you are concerned, we would ask you to come here and we will try and feed that information forward. But we are now in the full throes of making sure that we have enough space for a relief centre should it need to be stood up.
So where's the representative from Golden Murray Water? Where are they? Is there anyone here representing them?
It doesn't appear so, but this is a community meeting that's been called by the SES. So, unless the SES have got information on that, no.
There's one right down the back.
Quick one, boys. What resources do we have coming to Rochester to help out? An ambulance service. Are we having an ambulance service stay in town this time round? There was another last time and they left us.
So that was a question about resources coming into Rochester and a question around ambulance.
Yeah, no, thank you. So we've got a task force coming up from Melbourne this afternoon. That'll include boats, it'll include a land-based swift-water rescue team, and it'll also include what we classify as a general storm and flood crews. So there should be 3 of those coming up. That's happening now, so they'll be in place for this afternoon, hopefully this afternoon, into this evening for tomorrow as well. On top of that, I don't want to talk about police, but there is a swift-water rescue team sitting in Bendigo if it's needed. That has been here for the last couple of days, but purely because of the storm risk and the flash flood risk that we've had. We've yet to fully engage with CFA, so that'll certainly be incurring as soon as this meeting's over to see what extra resources we may have in relation with our partner agencies as well. So we have got things coming in.
And just the next one for that one, moving forward, what's your Echuca looking like? Are they going to take all our resources that we get here before we leave?
Just before you go, that was a question about what's happening with Echuca and whether resources will be diverted if there was any risk to Echuca.
Yeah, no, thank you. At the moment, we're concentrating on Rochester and what that actually looks like. So with the modelling, and I'd need to refer back to Camille on this, but we're looking like the peak is not going to be around for a significant period, and that'll give enough time for whatever we may need to go into Echuca to go into Echuca. We're still starting to see stream rises come out of the Hume areas and from those catchments there. So we're not seeing any indication at the moment around about any issues in Echuca.
I'd like to say something just for any guys that know anybody from Golden Murray. Maybe they could try and plan on opening up the throttle, like the bottleneck at the side to relieve the water flow. There's nothing we can get out under it. It only has to build up over it. Then you've got channel banks to bottleneck it. We've also got a weir up at Elmore that has a pissy little valve in it. That water level will be lowered from time to time if it was bigger. Just put it out. If these guys know somebody or in contact with them, maybe try and push something there.
Yeah, so what will happen is I'm taking some notes on some of those questions that you may have. When we leave here, I'm going straight back to the Incident Control Centre at Epsom, and we'll certainly try to get in contact with those representatives and see what we can do to try to mitigate.
Just got one question about the Murray River. How low is it?
I think we need to take that on notice and come back to you on that.
So we've talked about Rochester and a bit about Echuca, but what about in the middle, like Strathallan area? What's happening with the Campaspe at Strathallan once the water comes down, etc.?
So today this afternoon we're door knocking the Rochester area for the houses that we know are going to be impacted, and Strathallan is on our radar. Nanila is also another concern, but we don't believe that Nanila residents will be impacted. But Strathallan, we will be doing a run up there to have a chat and try and talk to each resident about what their levels were during that period of November 10 to January 11, because that's our biggest guide, is to use that as a rule of thumb. Okay? With the boats that Brad mentioned, we don't anticipate they're going to be needed at all, but they're just being sent here as precaution. So just a reminder, the sandbag points will be open, and if you're at all concerned, if you want to come and talk to me about your house or your property, I've got those levels here, and we'll also have those levels all listed over there at the sandbag point. If you live, say, in Hotham Street and you decide that you might want sandbags just as a precaution, you will be told, sorry, not at this stage, that there is no way that you're going to be impacted with the current predictions. So please consider that. Think about where you were. Think about how impacted you were in November 10 and halfway to January 11. And if you're in doubt, ask us. If you're fairly confident that you're right, please don't try and go to the sandbag point and get sandbags, because you will be turned away.
Is iWatch being updated with the current conditions, because they haven't been?
So flood eye is your floor level, okay? So that's what it is, your floor level, and it tells you at what level your property will be impacted and at what level your dwelling will be impacted. That doesn't change. Okay, so it doesn't matter what size flood, your floor level and your property level does not change.
So that was a question about iWatch. Can you just repeat that just so everyone understands how to get onto that?
Yeah, so it's on the North Central CMA website. If you just Google Flood Eye, you can open that and you can get on to see your property report. And obviously it wasn't great in October 2022 because it was a much bigger flood than what we'd previously modelled. This flood that we're expecting or predicting now, it's within the realms of the reports that we have. So you've got a bit more clarity and a bit more certainty about whether your property is going to be impacted or not and at what level. So just to repeat, if you plan for 115.0 at the gauge, that's what you're looking for.
Just for reference, the 2011 January flood, what height did that get to?
That was 115.4.
So that was the question around the height in January. 2011, yep.
So yeah, 115.4, and at this stage we're looking at... 1983. So Camille just said we're looking at something similar to 1983, for those of you that can remember back then and in the same situation.
My name's Dave, and one of the police officers here in Campaspe. Just to let you know, we've had our police out since 1 o'clock this morning, doing traffic management points and so forth and assisting in the community. All right, so we are in the process of deploying more resources to the area. And it'll probably be like last year. We're going to see about trying to get some additional help from Melbourne Police to come up to the area. Just one thing that's really important, we've already had people drive around road closed signs and get themselves stuck, and it's the same messaging we use all the time. Please, I know you know the area and you know your area really well, but if the road's closed and there's signs up, please just abide by them. Unfortunately, we don't want to have to do any swiftwater rescues. Those teams that we talked about that are in Bendigo are getting pushed forward over to Rochester as we speak from Bendigo, so we'll have swiftwater capability. Just because we have them here, I don't really want to have to use them and put anyone in jeopardy. So please just abide by those signs. And thank you for the big turnout today, and it's a testament to the community. And just remember that we're all in this together, and everyone's working extremely hard and trying to give you the most up-to-date information that we can. And we just need to focus on this event and there's a time and place for all the questions that you have about the parliamentary inquiries and the whys. That's not for this forum here, okay? Because what we're actually doing is we're taking time away from getting you out there for those that need to defend your properties. So again, thank you for your patience. And if you've got any questions from the police, come and see us.
I'll just walk the mic through. It's got some more questions. Sorry.
We didn't get a response on whether AV will be available on both sides of the river.
So re-AV's availability on both sides of the river. At 115, we don't expect the bridge to be closed. We may have to divert traffic from Ampol Corner, up High Street, round Lindsay Street, Reserve Road and over the river that way. There will be water over the road come tomorrow, but we don't expect the bridge to be 100% closed. And AV at this stage have not indicated they will not be leaving town, and because there is not the level of flooding that was last time, I do not expect them to be leaving town. Yes?
Just another quick one. Next time we have a town meeting, can we have it at the Shire Hall? Rather than like cheap in here?
I'll discuss that one with you later, Brett.
So the question's about Bamorm.
So the Strathallan Road corner on the highway, that's the area that we'll be going out to by the time we get there, possibly later this afternoon, early this evening, just to give them a heads up of what we're predicting. And by that stage, we'll hopefully have a much clearer idea as well, because Barnadown will have peaked and that will give us a correlation to Rochester. And yeah, so we'll be heading out there, talking to residents and just giving them as much information as what we have.
I got some advice then from the Incident Control Centre in Bendigo. Yeah, it looks like Barnadown's peaked, which is great news. So it's peaked around that 6.8, which we've got a historical record of floods correlation between Barnadown and Rochester. Ken Majors, bless him, he kept a really good record of historic floods in Rochester near the bridge. So we were able to, and obviously comparing that to Barnadown, so that 114.8, what we're predicting is 115 at the township, and that lines up with 6.8 at Barnadown. So that's good news that we've got some sort of certainty, and that's what the Bureau models are telling us as well. So we've got some more certainty as well. Whereas last time when we came to the community meeting, it was before the rain had actually fallen. So we were making a lot more guesswork about what was happening. The rain's fallen, now we know what the peak is at Barnadown, so we've got far more certainty this time around.
Can I just ask, what happened to the messages on our phones that this meeting was happening?
So apparently we're not able to get a text message on our phone for a community meeting for flood. I have been trying since October 2022 to get this changed, and I will continue to try because I believe it is extremely important, but at this stage it is still not possible. The messaging was to go out last night for today's meeting, but it was me that said, no, I do not want a community meeting message going out in the evening last night to alert everybody when we had no idea what the peak was going to be. And I didn't want the whole town to have a sleepless night knowing there was a community meeting but not knowing what it was about. We had arranged that it would go out at 9 o'clock this morning, but unfortunately there was a few delays in setting up the ICC where all this authorisation stuff has to happen. So that's why the messaging was so late. So you can blame me for it not going out last night, but I hope you all had a good night's sleep. And I apologise that it was so slow this morning, but it was out of our hands. And as far as it being a text message come through, community meetings for flood, it doesn't tick the box.
Apply to have a message sent out to everybody. Who's stopping it?
If I can, I'll answer that for you. So when we left Bendigo this morning, we had it authorised to get an emergency alert sent out. So I'm a little bit concerned that it hasn't gone, because that was approved this morning to go out to let people know that this community meeting was happening. Sorry? Nothing. It'll certainly be something I'll follow up on. We'll have a look at it, but I don't want to make any excuses, but I was told that it was authorised to go out, and that was at 11 o'clock, or just before 11 o'clock this morning.
Future floods. Would we get a warning next time?
Yeah, absolutely. So warnings will still occur. So once the Bureau releases warnings in relation to minor, moderate and the major flooding, those warnings will occur. Vic Emergency is the right spot to go for that initial information, so please use Vic Emergency. I do encourage the community networks on social media and those other networks that you have, whether it's phone trees and the likes, to please use them. Look after each other, check on your neighbours, make sure that everyone's okay and they do have that information. In addition to that, when it does reach a major, and if it goes up, and we're not looking like it will, as Camille just said before, the river has peaked further upstream, that will trigger emergency alerts in relation to evacuation warnings. But at this stage, we're not looking like that at all. We're not going to get even close to that occurring.
Can I just add a point on that? In terms of, I know we get overwhelmed and we get really overwhelmed with all these emergency alerts on emergency Vic. That's our way, if things do change, that's our way that we're going to notify you that the prediction's gone up. We're not expecting it, we're not predicting that at the moment, but if something untoward happens, that's going to be our way of letting you know. So just make sure if you get those, just read the text in there and it'll tell you whether the level's gone up to what we're telling you now. So please, I encourage you to look out for that.
Thanks, Camille. I'll just hand over to Shannon if anyone doesn't have any further questions.
Sorry. Hi, Pauline Gordon, Campaspe Shire. Brad, sorry, I'm going over near Sherry. And thank you to Sherry. She does an amazing job, so thank you very much. Brad, I'm interested, Judith and the team here do a phenomenal job at a local level, the SES. Is there other resources that are coming in to back them up this time? I think we've got about 6, Judith, have we? How many?
On deck at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, about 6. And I guess this is very big for us. And I'm just wondering, are there other SES people around?
Yeah, look, there definitely is. So we've got a task force coming up from Melbourne, as I said before. We're hoping to have those in situ in Rochester later on this afternoon. If not, it'll be early evening. So it'll be before the river peaks and before those roads and any avenues potentially become impassable to get into town. So with that, we will have crews in, we'll have boats if they're needed. We're not anticipating they will. And the additional land-based swift-water rescue crews will be coming in. So there will be extra resources in town. Sorry, we'll just go to the front here first, if that's all right.
Oh, you hold that and I'll go.
I just wanted to know if there was any more rain to come.
Yeah, look, I haven't had a look at the latest forecast, so it's something that I'll do before you go, and we'll let everybody know what that forecast is.
Yeah, the Bureau were telling us this morning there was some more rain predicted today, but not a big downfall. It's more just your, 5 to 15 sort of mil around about. And it's not a deluge, it's not a downpour, it's just that spitting sort of rain. So we're not expecting that rain to drive levels up above this first peak that you'll see tomorrow.
You commented before that you didn't know why this message came out. How do we fix that? Because people here are worried and they've had enough of being misinformation. How do we fix that? How do you fix that?
Yeah, it's something I'll look into. So when we leave here, I'll raise that up the tree up to the State Control Centre and we'll actually have a look to see where those messages actually did go. So I'm not going to go into depth, but there's a thing what they draw as a polygon, which will then indicate what services in that area will actually get the messaging, and that'll go as an SMS text, but then it also goes to the landlines as well. So it'll be something I'll follow up.
Hi, look, I just want to ask you a question. We've got a remarkably resilient little community here that really has got a few members that go above and beyond what anyone would ever expect of them in keeping us informed and ensuring that, you know, we are able to access help. I just want you to comment on a piece of advice that came out today that we should, if we, you know, across the whole town, act to raise our possessions and do the sort of things you would normally do in a flood to protect your properties. I'm just wondering if you would be prepared to overrule that advice right now.
No, look, it's something that's really up to yourselves as individuals whether you want to take those precautions now and raise those items. What'll actually happen is when those warnings are issued, so we need to wait for the Bureau of Meteorology to issue those flood warnings, and there will be advice in those messagings around about what actions to take. As we mentioned before, those messages will differ once we go from a minor to a moderate, and hopefully we don't get to that major stage.
I would just like to know, for the people that are going to be impacted, what is 25 sandbags per house going to do to protect their property?
Yeah, thank you. It was something we're going to raise towards the end of the meeting. So what we actually do ask is when you take sandbags is that you sandbag doorways. Don't sandbag around the brickwork, but sandbag doorways. With that, put a sandbag in the toilet, in your shower, sink, anywhere where water can come up actually through the drainage system. We will endeavour to have pamphlets there about what to do, how to lay those sandbags as well. If you find that your property is under threat and you need more sandbags, I encourage you to ring 132 500. That'll then come, and those extra crews we'll have in town will be there to support that as well.
So, and just to add to that, so a brick house is easy to defend at a flood this level with the levels we're talking as overflow, because as Brad said, you bag your doors, block your doors, bag your toilets, lift stuff and leave if necessary. If you have a weatherboard house, as you all know, that is not so easy to defend, because if you sandbag your doors, it's going to come up potentially through your floorboards or come in through the sides. So unfortunately, if you have a weatherboard house, they are very, very hard to defend, even at a low-level flood like this.
Not wishing at all to create friction within this wonderful community, but the speaker who asked that the notice that went up by a local be taken down, I reject that totally, because that particular person was our go-to during the floods of 15 months ago. She does that with humour. She was not trying to usurp SES or anybody else in any way, shape or form. But that woman deserves a medal and not brickbats.
So, not sure I actually heard that be taken down. I think all Brad said was that's an individual choice, depending on what you feel your situation is and what you feel to do within your own homes. But technically, within the levels that we've got, sandbags will be provided for those people that are impacted, and if anybody wants to know their individual information, we have that here for them.
Yeah, look, I can't comment on that. I'm not sure of the actual individual circumstances. But so before we hand over to Shannon, so we will be here for at least another 20, 30 minutes. We do have some maps here. I encourage you to come up if you do have any questions, and we'll certainly try to answer those for you.
We understand it's very warm in here and we're going to try and wrap up right now, and just wanted to finalise just with the council's comments. I just wanted to call out, we've got Anglicare support workers in the back there. They'll raise their hands, thank you. They're wonderful people, are able to help if anyone is understandably, certainly in this environment, given what this community's already been through. They're here to support you. This building will stay open, staff with council staff, as I said, to support the community. The question was if anyone needs assistance, here is a good place to at least start. There'll be up-to-date information as best we can. Support workers here to be able to support you. As the SES has already said, check on your neighbours. Make sure that they understand the live stream's going to be up on the website and link them in if they don't know how to get that information. But you can also send them here and we can support them as well. So thank you all for coming. I can see that this gentleman's very keen on a question. One more question, we'll take yours, yep.
The predictions that you're predicting at the moment, how much of an impact, if any, is it going to have along the back of the chicken farm, Railway Road, Digby Road, like coming to from the back wall, which is significantly pushed up levels? Is there anything on that?
We might just get you to repeat the question as well into the mic, whoever answers it. So in October 2022, a big impact that took out the west side of the town. There was a levee that was constructed along the river to replace an irrigation channel, and that levee did overtop. And obviously by overtopping, it breached in a few locations as well. That levee, since that event's been fixed, so we're not expecting that to overtop at all. It's well off. Overtopping that levee, so we're not expecting that water to get around the back of town that way. It's the same as every other flood, and in 2011 we didn't have that overtopping either. And this is a smaller event than 2011. Yep.
Will we lose power?
Yeah, look, it's really, really hard to sort of forecast or predict what services will be lost. We've heard from the Water Authority in relation to the protection of the water. What I would recommend is that you do make sure your mobile phones are charged. If you can, have a backup power supply for those mobile phones, whether it's a little battery. Make sure, if you can, have a radio with batteries in them so you can listen to any information that does happen to be broadcast over radio. Also ensure that any medication that you have is packed. So if you are planning or if you are in that area of the properties that may see some flooding, make sure that you do have things packed and you do have a plan ready. The plan for flood is no different to what you'd have for fire, so please make sure that you are prepared. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some resources available on the SES public webpage. There are also some links in there to the local flood guide, so you can get some further information in relation to Rochester on that. And there's also links to the the Catchment Authority as well.
I don't really say much publicly, but just know that nothing on the community page will be taken down, and I'm watching what Camille's been watching, and she's telling the truth. And what we are getting is tributary water coming from Axe Creek and all around Strathfield saying that. And you know that I will tell you what's going on. Thank you.
Sorry, Damien, again from Colburn Water. There was a question just there on the drinking water. We do advise that it is a smart thing to put a little bit of drinking water aside. If there is something that does cause a disruption, then you've got some drinking water handy. We think that's a smart thing to do. It's precautionary. We're not expecting any problems, but things can happen. So just put a little bit of drinking water aside. The other thing is that if there is any disruption to water services, we will text you. If you're a Colburn Water customer, we in the main have your mobile phone number, and we were the organisation sending a lot of text messages in the 2022 floods. If you don't have your mobile phone number associated with your Colburn account, you can ring in and do that, and then you make sure you will get text messages from Colburn Water.
Rightio, guys, we're going to wrap it up. There's some things for people to go and do and preparations to be had. If people don't know me, I'm Rob Amos, I'm the Mayor. I wanted to start by thanking all you for coming along and those online for listening. I want to thank everyone, the agencies that are here, for coming up and helping and giving information. There is more help on the way. Please come and have a look at the maps, see if your property is going to be impacted. And let's all work together as a community, as I know Rochester always does, and we can get through this. So thanks a lot.